In the crowded madness of Onitsha, life moved like a generator with faulty wiring. Nothing was ever completely under control. Buses nearly kissed pedestrians every 5 minutes. Traders shouted prices like they were auctioning oxygen. Kiki drivers drove with the confidence of men who had personally negotiated with death and reached an understanding. And somewhere inside this beautiful confusion lived a young man named Chinedu Mistook. 28 years old. Handsome. Educated. Well-spoken. Hopelessly unaware of his surroundings. Chinedu was the kind of man who could lose his slippers while wearing them. If danger wore a uniform, Chinedu would still ask, "Excuse me, sir, are you in line?" His mother used to say, "God gave you beauty because awareness was unavailable." At first, Chinedu thought she was joking. Then life began proving her right aggressively. One Tuesday morning, his mother called him into the sitting room with the seriousness of a woman preparing to announce either a miracle or murder. "Chinedu." "Yes, mommy." She held out a black nylon bag carefully. Inside was 50,000 Nigerian nairas. "Go to the market and buy the ceiling fan your uncle requested." Simple. She narrowed her eyes. "Don't say it simple. Every time you say it simple, confusion enters this family." "Mommy, relax. I'm not a child." "That is exactly what worries me." She handed him the money reluctantly. "Listen carefully. Don't press phone while walking. Don't follow girls. Don't enter unnecessary conversations. And pay attention to your surroundings." Chinedu smiled confidently. "Mommy, situational awareness is my thing now." His mother laughed so hard she almost dropped her cup. "You? Awareness? Mommy. My son, last month you entered your neighbor's car and greeted him before realizing it wasn't ours. It was dark. It was afternoon." But Chinedu had already left proudly. As he walked through Upper Iweka Market, he plugged one earpiece into his ear and started listening to motivational speeches. "Focus creates greatness," the speaker shouted. "Yes." Chinedu replied dramatically. "Winners avoid distractions." "Correct. The eagle never." "Watch out." A speeding Kiki nearly removed Chinedu from the earth. He jumped sideways violently. The driver insulted his entire bloodline while driving away. An old woman selling tomatoes shook her head slowly. "This one is working physically but spiritually buffering." Chinedu adjusted himself and continued walking with fake dignity. Then he saw her. And immediately forgot every instruction his mother gave him. She stood beside a fruit stall wearing a yellow dress that looked like sunlight had decided to become clothing. Beautiful. Calm. Confident. Her name, he would later learn, was Ada. At that moment, she was arguing with a watermelon seller. 1,500 Nigerian nairas for this small thing. "Auntie, is the watermelon paying school fees?" The seller hissed. "Buy or leave." Ada crossed her arms. "I will leave. But God is watching this greed." Chinedu smiled instantly. Beautiful women with humor were dangerous. He approached carefully. "Excuse me." Ada turned. "Yes. I just wanted to say, your smile has disrupted my destiny." Silence. A nearby trader looked up slowly. Even the watermelon seller paused. Ada blinked twice. "What?" Chinedu smiled harder. "You're too beautiful to be standing under this harsh Nigerian sun." Ada burst into laughter. Not because the line was smooth, but because it sounded like something a tired poet would say after drinking expired energy drink. "You're funny." That sentence entered Chinedu's bloodstream like imported alcohol. They began talking immediately. And while Chinedu focused entirely on impressing Ada a goat quietly approached him from behind. Now this is the problem with poor situational awareness. When your attention becomes trapped in one thing, you stop observing everything else. Aware people scan environments constantly. They notice movement, patterns, behavior, risks, distractions, changes. But Chinedu was romantically blind. The goat began chewing the black nylon bag containing the 50,000 Nigerian nairas. Ada noticed first. Your bag. Chinedu smiled proudly. My bag. Yes. Oh, don't worry, he said confidently. Material things don't control me. The goat swallowed part of the money. Ada pointed urgently. No. Your actual bag. But Chinedu thought she was flirting. You know, he continued smoothly, life is deeper than possessions. The goat suddenly bolted. With the money. For 3 whole seconds, Chinedu continued smiling romantically without understanding what had happened. Then he turned. Saw the goat. Saw pieces of 1,000 Nigerian nairas notes hanging from its mouth. And suddenly became a man under spiritual attack. Jesus Christ! He took off running. The market exploded. Women carried their trays instantly. One child started crying because he believed the goat was possessed. The goat sprinted like a criminal with experience. Hold that goat. Hold yourself, someone shouted back. The goat dodged wheelbarrows, peppers, and human beings with shocking professionalism. At one point it jumped over a basket of onions. People applauded. This goat has training. Chinedu chased it through the market screaming. That's my mother's money. An old man shouted. Then why you package 'em like goat food? Eventually, Chinedu crashed directly into a policeman eating roasted corn. The corn flew majestically through the air. The officer stared at him slowly. My corn. Officer, please. Emergency. What emergency involves flying into government officer like flying squirrel? A goat swallowed my future. The officer blinked. What? My mother's 50,000 Nigerian nairas. The officer looked around. Where is the goat? It escaped. The officer sighed deeply. My brother, today will stress us. Meanwhile, Ada arrived, laughing so hard she could barely stand. You chased the goat across Upper Iweka because you were trying to flirt. I was distracted. Exactly. The officer nodded. That is how many people suffer in life. No awareness. Then he pointed around the busy market. Look around carefully. Everybody here is watching something. Traders watch thieves. Drivers watch roads. Sellers watch customers. Even beggars watch pockets. But you were watching yellow dress. The nearby crowd laughed loudly. Chinedu wanted the ground to swallow him respectfully. But the officer continued. Situational awareness means understanding your environment. What's happening? Who's behaving strangely? Where danger can come from? And what needs your attention? Then he added. Anything that steals your attention can steal your judgment. That sentence entered Chinedu's brain like thunder. 3 exhausting hours later, after the greatest goat hunting operation in market history, they finally found the animal behind a mechanic workshop. The goat was resting peacefully like a retired armed robber. An elderly man examined it carefully. This goat looks experienced. Another nodded. Yes. Repeat offender. After long arguments involving the goat owner, 2 angry traders, 1 veterinarian, and a preacher who claimed the goat represented the devourer of destiny. Some of the money was recovered. Not all. just enough to reduce the funeral atmosphere waiting in Chinedu's house. Surprisingly, Ada stayed through the entire disaster. And somehow, instead of humiliating him, she kept laughing with warmth. That was new to Chinedu. Most people laughed at him. Ada laughed with him. And somehow, that mattered. Weeks passed. Chinedu slowly started improving. He stopped crossing roads while pressing phone. He looked around before sitting down. He checked his pockets regularly. He even started observing people more carefully. Not just listening to words, but watching expressions, tone, body language, behavior. Still, he remained a work in progress. And life was preparing another lesson. A more dangerous one. It happened during his cousin's traditional wedding. That Saturday morning, his mother entered his room like a military commander. "Wake up." Chinedu sat up violently. "What happened?" "Your cousin's wedding starts by 10. He relaxed. "Oh. You are carrying the drinks?" Fear returned instantly. In Nigerian weddings, handling drinks is a responsibility equal to protecting national treasure. Lose one crate and elderly aunties begin discussing your spiritual weaknesses. As Chinedu prepared, his best friend Emeka arrived. Now Emeka possessed terrifying situational awareness. Nothing escaped him. He could enter a room and immediately know who borrowed money, who was pretending to be rich, who was fighting secretly, and who would embarrass themselves before evening. Usually Chinedu. As they boarded a bus to the wedding venue, Emeka looked at him carefully. "Today, pay attention." "I will." "No distractions. Relax. No chasing women. Please. No motivational speeches." "Emeka. No unnecessary confidence." "Why are you talking like I'm a public threat?" "Because history exists." Inside the bus sat several passengers, including a beautiful lady reading a book quietly near the window. Immediately, Chinedu adjusted himself. Emeka sighed deeply. "God help us." The lady looked up briefly and smiled politely. That was enough. Chinedu moved closer. "You read books?" "Yes." "Wow. Intelligent women are rare nowadays." Every woman inside the bus looked at him with irritation. The lady raised an eyebrow. "Rare?" Chinedu panicked instantly. "No, I mean, not rare, like statistically." Emeka covered his face. The old woman behind them muttered, "This one speaks before brain receives network." But surprisingly, the lady laughed. "I'm Amora." "Chinedu." And once again, distraction entered the chat. Halfway through the journey, Amora suddenly frowned. "Why is the man behind you touching your curtain?" Chinedu froze. Turned slowly. The sleeping man behind him was quietly stealing one crate of malt. Caught immediately. Chaos erupted. Passengers shouted. The conductor nearly fainted emotionally. And there it was again. Awareness. Amora had noticed what Chinedu missed completely. Again. When they finally reached the wedding venue, loud music shook the compound. Children ran around like escaped prisoners. Aunties moved in dangerous groups. Goats roasted nearby. Uncles discussed politics nobody asked about. Traditional weddings are not ceremonies. They are organized confusion with food. As Chinedu carried drinks around trying to look responsible, one elderly woman suddenly handed him a massive pot of soup. "Take this inside." Before he could refuse, she vanished. Now here was the problem. Chinedu focused so hard on not spilling soup that he forgot to observe where he was entering. He pushed open a door confidently. and entered the bridal preparation room. Silence. Then screaming. Bridesmaids everywhere. The bride gasped. One woman threw powder instinctively. Another shouted, "Who is this?" Chinedu nearly dropped the soup. "I'm sorry." "Get out." He turned too quickly. Slipped on satin cloth. The soup flew into the air dramatically. Everybody screamed. By pure miracle, the pot landed safely on a chair. Outside, guests rushed toward the noise. When Chinedu emerged covered in powder, sweat, and shame, his mother stared at him. "What did you do?" "Complex situation." Amora appeared nearby and immediately burst into uncontrollable laughter. "You entered the bridal room carrying soup." "It was an accident." "How?" "I was focused." "Exactly," Emeka shouted from behind. "You focus on one thing and ignore reality." Later that evening came the final disaster. The couple's dance competition. Immediately, aunties started pairing unmarried people together like emotionally aggressive matchmakers. Before Chinedu understood what was happening, he was standing beside Amora on the dance floor. Music started. The crowd cheered. At first, everything was fine. Then Chinedu attempted a dance move inspired by a music video. Situational awareness would have informed him. The floor was slippery. His shoes had no grip. And his knees were not loyal enough for such ambition. But awareness and Chinedu were still rebuilding trust. He spun dramatically. Slipped. Grabbed the nearest object for balance. Unfortunately, the nearest object was an elder's expensive wrapper. The cloth loosened instantly. The elder screamed. Women turned away respectfully. The DJ stopped music immediately. Silence. Pure silence. Chinedu released the wrapper slowly like a man holding live electricity. "I can explain." "Don't." Even the elder's ancestors seemed offended. Amora collapsed into laughter. The bride nearly fell off her chair. Emeka walked outside completely because he could no longer survive the embarrassment secondhand. That night, after the wedding finally ended without police involvement, Chinedu sat outside with Ada and Amora beneath the soft evening lights. For once in his life, he was quiet. Then Ada smiled gently. "You've learned something important, haven't you?" Chinedu nodded slowly. "Yes." "What?" He looked around carefully. Really carefully. The cool night breeze. The distant music. Children laughing nearby. Cars passing slowly. People talking softly. For the first time, he wasn't distracted. He was present. Awareness, he said quietly, is not just about avoiding danger. The two women listened. It's about noticing life. Ada smiled. Amora nodded. Chinedu continued. Most people move through life absent-minded. They don't notice warning signs, good people, bad intentions, opportunities, emotional changes, danger, or even themselves. Then he laughed softly. And sometimes a goat must swallow your future before you learn. Everybody burst into laughter. Then Amora added quietly. My father used to say, the people who destroy their lives are usually distracted by ego, emotion, or entertainment. Ada nodded. And awareness starts with honesty. Honesty? Chinedu asked. Yes, she said. Knowing when pride is blinding you. Attraction is distracting you. Anger is controlling you. Excitement is making you careless. Or emotions are affecting your judgment. That struck him deeply. Because true situational awareness was not only external. It was internal too. Knowing yourself. observing yourself. Understanding yourself. A person who cannot observe themselves becomes dangerous to themselves. Chinedu smiled slowly. You know something funny? What? Ada asked. I thought awareness meant acting serious. Amara laughed. And now? Now I think awareness means being fully present. Before life embarrasses you publicly. Correct, Emeka said from behind suddenly. Everyone jumped. Where did you come from? I have been standing here for 5 minutes. Chinedu blinked. I didn't notice. Emeka smiled proudly. And that, my friend, is exactly the problem.